How you help students feel that they would actually belong in your class is important because computing is a field that has a pre-existing perception of who might fit or who might belong. And this is another one of the factors that comes into play in how students decide on their occupations, whether or not I feel like I belong with the people who are already there. Now, one thing this says is if the people who are already there are very different than me, then you should recruit members of underrepresented minority groups, that is, in friendship groups. It's more effective than recruiting single individuals, that is, one woman or one member of an underrepresented minority group. If you have sparked the interest of an individual, let's say woman or a member of a group that's underrepresented, and you've convinced them that they could succeed, take that opportunity to ask them, do you have friends that might be interested in taking this class with you? And then help them convince their friends to take the class. Because the way that they will feel like they belong is built into the recruitment process, right? At least a few people I'm very comfortable with in this course, and so they're here, so maybe I should be here too. And so when you're talking about computing and computing occupations, just be sure that you use inclusive language. So when you're talking about computing and computing occupations, just be sure that you're using inclusive language. Don't have all of your examples be talking about white middle-class males, like, for example, Matthew and Stephen. You should be mixing it up, using different names that have a connotation of a wider range of ethnicity, of gender, and maybe even some that are ambiguous. And you can get lists of ambiguous names that you might want to be using in your courses for your examples. And don't always use male pronouns. Of course, you should use male pronouns, but you might also want to mix it up. Again, just be mindful of what it is that you're doing when you're using examples in class. And one of the reasons is because there are a whole range of subtle ways that we're communicating about who we think belongs in computing. And we may not realize that we're actually doing this, but it's subtle and it's subconscious, but those messages are in fact being communicated to our students, and they pick up on it, even if it is subconsciously. And so just be mindful of the fact that those messages are in fact being communicated to your students. Now, if you have the scope over your classroom or your lab, just be sure that you set up a welcoming physical environment. There has been very interesting research that finds that we communicate stereotypes of all sorts uh, regarding who belongs in a physical setting by the style and by the content of the physical environment. So for example, if you have a nerd corner in your classroom, that has the Star Trek posters and, that kind of thing, yes, this will definitely appeal to some students, but there's also a group of other students who are not yet attracted to computing, who feel that they don't belong when that's what the environment is like. So it's saying people who like this stuff already are the ones who belong here and the ones who belong in computing. So if you have control over the classroom, think about what you can do to make it more broadly appealing. Use plants, use landscape pictures or nature pictures on the walls. Try to make it inviting to a broader range of students. So we're not suggesting to put something up that's going to appeal to one diverse group, and not others. We want to make it the most broad appealing that we can. So we're not suggesting that you put up pink, billboards or bulletin boards or something that might attract some students who haven't been attracted yet, but it might exclude a whole number of others. So we're talking just about making it more generally, easily inviting to the broadest range. And be very bold. Tell them that you want them to study computing. That's why they're a student in your course. That's why you'd like to have them stay, have them enjoy the course, something. So, be just very upfront and bold and say that.